It was another fun night in MMA as UFC 263 delivered plenty of storylines. Israel Adesanya was able to retain his middleweight title again. In the co-main event, a potential new star was born in Brandon Moreno, who submitted Davison Figueiredo in the third round, and Leon Edwards also defeated one of the promotion's biggest stars in first ever known title undercard 5-rounder. So today we'll be looking into what's ahead for the man fighters of UFC 263, especially for the winners. Hello everyone and welcome to the UFC Book. Despite his recent light heavyweight loss to Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya remains the true king of the middleweight division. After a decisive unanimous decision victory over Marvin Vettori, he is now ranked third best pound-for-pound fighter in UFC. After his fight, Adesanya called for a rematch with Robert Whittaker, but this time in his residential hometown.
I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen with this whole COVID shit, but we need to run that back in Auckland. We need to run that back in my territory this time.
Adesanya beat Whittaker to capture the middleweight strap back in 2019. The win was decisive enough that under ordinary circumstances, a rematch wouldn't be necessary. However, Whittaker managed to turn it into an appealing matchup during his near-perfect post-championship run. He rebounded from that loss with 3 straight wins over world-class foes: Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, and most recently Kelvin Gastelum. After beating Gastelum, he was the clear number 1 contender, but with the tough results of 25 minutes against Gastelum, he wasn't ready to face Adesanya in June, so Vettori stepped in. And now Adesanya vs Whittaker 2 is most probably going to happen in October 2021. Whittaker has seemingly improved his skill set since the loss, and if anyone is going to dethrone Adesanya at 185 pounds, it's definitely going to be the Reaper. Here is his tweet for the champ after UFC 263. Vettori lost in his first bid at UFC Gold and he is now 0-2 against the champ. Although Vettori again is number 4 welterweight after this loss, he is back to the drawing board and still is young and improving and can work his way to another title shot. However, he will need to win multiple fights in a row, and the logical next bout is against Paulo Costa, who he called out.
But to be honest, you know what? I like to really destroy this drunk guy that can't even stay off drinking, and it's boring.
If the Brazilian can come to terms with the UFC over his pay dispute, this is a solid fight night main event with the winner taking one step closer to a title shot. By the way, Costa responded to Vettori on Twitter saying, "I could fight this moron if he showed to fight like that." Brandon Moreno cracked the pound-for-pound rankings and earned number 12 spot, but still the flyweight division is kind of thin at the moment. Davison Figueiredo may even get an immediate trilogy fight if someone doesn't step up as a clear number 1 contender. At the moment, the only number 1 contender option would be undefeated Askar Askarov. They first met in Moreno's return fight to the UFC in Mexico, where they fought to a split draw. Askarov currently holds the number 2 spot in the flyweight rankings, right behind Figueiredo. Askarov is scheduled to face number 4 ranked Alex Perez on July 31, and if he wins, he is definitely worthy of a title shot. Davison Figueiredo is in a unique spot after losing the title. What's next for him is not clear, but one thing is sure that the Brazilian won't take a fight against any flyweight but Brandon Moreno. If he doesn't get the trilogy, he could move up to bantamweight as he does have a tough weight cut. And if that is the case, a logical scrap is just rebooking the Cody Garbrandt fight. Figueiredo was scheduled to make his first title defense against former UFC bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt on November 21, 2020 at UFC 255. However, it was reported on October 2nd that Garbrandt had torn his bicep and was forced to pull out of the contest. They can now fight at bantamweight in Figueiredo's bantamweight debut. This would be a very high-profile fight for the division and a barn burner stylistically. Generally speaking, fighters don't earn title shot by beating unranked fighters, but number 3rd ranked welterweight Leon Edwards has done just that. Edwards was already on a 9-fight unbeaten streak, and with the victory over Nate Diaz, the man deserves a crack at the welterweight strap, but it seems he's not getting it. As UFC President Dana White said at the post-fight conference, welterweight champion Kamaru Usman will next defend his title against long-time rival Colby Covington. Now Edwards can just sit and wait for the title shot just like Colby did. But if he chooses to take a fight in the meantime, it would likely mean that he would fight Jorge Masvidal. Because Dana White revealed in the post-fight conference that the three-piece with the soda fight between Jorge Masvidal and Leon Edwards could be next. Masvidal assaulted Edwards a few years back and then ducked Edwards many times. So according to many UFC stars, Edwards should take this fight. Nate Diaz proved he still is a massive star. He said he doesn't want to be inactive again and wants his fight in the next 2 or 3 months. So there is a fight that makes a ton of sense. The Stockton native should face Conor McGregor if he loses to Dustin Poirier on July 10.
Nathan Diaz, Conor McGregor, if he loses to Dustin Poirier? Is that the fight to make now?
Yeah. I mean, if he loses.
If McGregor loses, the trilogy fight makes all the sense in the world and is a massive fight. But in case Conor wins on July 10, Damian Maia and Dan Hooker also challenge Nate Diaz. Now if you are thinking about Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal for the BMF title, its timing just isn't right. As both are coming off separate losses, MMA community is showing no interest in this fight. I want to at least mention Tony Ferguson as an option rather than Masvidal because they both are on a losing streak as well but have a great fan base. So even a non-title fight between them would attract widespread appeal. After beating one of the top 10 at UFC 263, Bilal Muhammad is now number 9 in welterweight rankings. He wanted to face Leon Edwards again, but number 8 ranked Neil Magny is a perfect measuring stick to see if Bilal Muhammad is ready to make a serious run in the welterweight division. Magny has been in the UFC since 2013, but has never quite been able to get over the hump and become a top welterweight contender. Magny is coming off a unanimous decision win over Jeff Neal and is the only available option if Bilal wants to face someone ranked higher than him. Like the video if you find anything interesting in it or enjoyed any part of it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any important video. Now I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, do whatever you want.